Hi, it's Michael and Anthony here presenting Small Business Banter. A healthy micro and small business sector means a successful economy and a more vibrant society. Small Business Banter is about helping regional business owners better prepare for the current challenges, but also for the next stage of business success. I'm Michael Kerr, founder of Kerr Capital, advisors to business owners. Each week, with Anthony Turner from the Small Business Mentoring Service, we'll interview a different small business expert or a fellow business owner and get them to share their best tips and insights for you, the listeners. Small Business Banter is brought to you from the studios of 104.7 Gippsland FM and is heard across Australia on the Community Radio Network. Thanks also to our supporters, Kerr Capital and the Small Business Mentoring Service. On today's episode of smallbusinessbanter.com, really pleased to welcome in Rebecca Domorev, who's the co-founder of Tielka, which is an organic tea company, started in Melbourne and now based out of southern Queensland. I'll get back to describe exactly where the business operates from now. Welcome in today, Beck.
Thanks so much, Michael. It's great to be here.
Yeah, lovely to have you in. I'm with my co-host, Anthony Turner from the Small Business Mentoring Service, and we're looking forward to spending 25 minutes with Beck today to just get some more insights on her journey as a co-founder of a business that she started with her husband. Anyway, Beck, I won't bother trying to explain the history of Tielka. Perhaps I might hand over to you if you could just give those of our listeners some background on how you started, why you started, and where you're at today.
Yeah, sure. Well, the idea actually came up in 2008, and I was very keen to start my own business and looking for a niche, I suppose, in the market. Actually, prior to that, we sowing the seed. We had been to Poland many years ago in 2002 and ended up in this little cafe, this gorgeous little cafe, vintage style with gorgeous little trinkets and beautiful pictures. And I had this tea list in there and I was quite intrigued by it. I wasn't into tea at the time. And I guess I'd never seen tea treated with that kind of respect before. And it was quite unusual. And I tried it and that really got me interested in tea. And then, fast forward to 2008 when I had this kind of idea, I want to start a business. I was having a conversation with my sister-in-law and she was telling me about fair trade coffee and that there really wasn't anything in the way of fair trade tea available. And I did a little research and stumbled across these fair trade gardens in China and got some samples, did some focus groups. And it was really quite fascinating because people hadn't experienced tea like this before. Like people were used to the supermarket varieties and
in a box, yeah.
In a box that had cardboard and and it wasn't properly sealed or presented well and it didn't taste, it didn't have that flavour profile. And I thought, man, we're really onto something here. So that's what really got the ball rolling with Tielka all those years ago. So
that's a great story. And before we sort of dig in further, today Tielka, where does it operate from? And what's the sort of how do you do business? Is it a retail, wholesale?
Sure. Well, today we're located in this tiny little tourist town called Agnes Water, which is a town of about 2,000 people, situated between Bundaberg and Gladstone. So if you look on the map between Melbourne and, where is it? Up north, Townsville, we're about halfway in between, so central Queensland. And we supply, the bulk of our business is supplying wholesale tea to cafes, those kind of higher-end cafes or cafes that have their own home produce or focus on specialty products. And we also supply to end users, so tea drinkers who just really want something special in the home, and just delving a little bit into export as well at the moment.
Well, look, that's a good overview. You're sitting on your decking out there, and so we can tell you're definitely north of where we are.
Yes.
It's a great story. The thing that really intrigued me in what you said at the beginning was, I guess, is it a ritual that you saw in this, the way that the tea was made and consumed, that really was one of the first bits of inspiration for you, that tea was more than just a drink?
It didn't start that way. So in the beginning, it was just about the tea. It was just about this tea, this product that was remarkably different to the status quo of tea. And over the years, through my own personal journey, that actually changed significantly, because I started my own kind of ritual, which is I just want some time for myself, and I'd come out into this back deck where you said you can see those beautiful palms and under this beautiful umbrella here. And I started to drink tea out here, and, I'd take photos of Instagram of my tea for Instagram. And for me, this is a very personal time. It's a faith time as well. And I would just drink my tea and relax and have some me time. I talk with God and think about things. And this actually started to produce something that I wasn't expecting, of this incredible value of this ritual that came from it. And going through some very difficult challenges in my life, I found that I was actually far better positioned to face those challenges. And so that was something that grew with the business and the story of that.
So, Beck, just touching on those challenges, I've had the privilege of having a read of the bio information that you sent us, and you've got 3 beautiful children, and you've moved from Melbourne to the sunny Queensland area, and sitting here in the Yarra Valley and Chile and everything else. I'm very envious, but maybe you'd like to espouse, talk about some of those challenges, because a lot of our listeners are people who face challenges, whether that's the combinations of family or moving as you've done and things like that. What were some of the insights that you might be able to give them to help them through those sorts of challenges?
Well, the challenges that I'm particularly referring to, the biggest one we had was a couple of years ago. We welcomed our 3rd little boy into our family. We were expecting a very healthy baby and to go home from the hospital not long after his birth. But it was very clear straight away that not everything was right. Pretty much straight away they earmarked Down syndrome as a likely diagnosis, and that he had a blockage in his duodenum, and that meant, being in rural Queensland, we had to be transferred on a Royal Flying Doctor Service flight to Brisbane. They had to transfer our little newborn baby down to Brisbane and do surgery on him it was the 3rd day of his life. And that was a massive challenge. That was a massive curveball for us. It came completely out of nowhere, and we were uprooted. We had to move from Agnes Water to Brisbane for we didn't know how long. The doctor said we expect to be here for several months, and we stayed in the Ronald McDonald House in Brisbane just while our little boy Andrew was having his surgery, and they were taking care of him there. That was a massive upheaval for us. And for me, the strength behind getting through that was that having that ritual of that me time, and just knowing that in difficult times there is a stability, there is trust, and my faith was a huge part of that. And that, family was our priority. Business did go on the back burner for that period. But the interesting thing was, through that experience, I realised that there was this incredible power through this tea ceremony, And I felt this sense of responsibility from that to bring that and invest that through the business and infuse the business, sorry for the pun, infuse that through the business, because this was a message that we wanted to bring into the business. The challenge was financial, obviously. The business took a massive hit when we were away. We had someone on the ground here in Agnes Water doing orders for us, but, we weren't able to obviously follow up any new inquiries or anything like that. So we did get quite a bit behind. But I do believe that every challenge that comes up in a business or in your personal life, I really strongly believe that there is an opportunity. I don't think challenges or difficulties are the end of the story. I do believe that when you have a challenge, that you can take the challenge and have a look at it. What am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with this to make something really great come out of this? And for me was that really powerful story that we had that experience with our son Andrew and what we went through that, and saying, hey, look what you can do. Look what you can do with tea. How powerful is this tea story and this me time, this tea time, and people started to latch onto that and engage with us and the brand through that, and we just had something so much more powerful from that. So that's just one little instance.
It's a major one, but did it help you? It sounds like it helped you build that sort of connection to the business again, because you could, it's almost like the story of the business was evolving and expanding and directly from your personal experience, and you wanted to share that with others, your consumers of your tea.
Yes.
It's wonderful to hear, that the business, was selling tea, but it's you're seeing it as much more than that, and perhaps gives the business a new life, or almost like a rebirth as more than just it's experiential.
That's right, absolutely. And there were two sides. One was this feeling of a sense of responsibility that I need to share this with people. And the other was actually in a good business model and in good marketing, you have a story, and the story is what drives the business and helps connect with people and grow your business. So it's very much a win-win situation with these two elements.
So, looking through the bio information that you sent through, you actually had some help along the way. You got involved with a part of an innovation program run by a local incubator or something. Maybe you'd like to share with the listeners about how that came about and what you got out of that.
Oh, it's a funny story how it all came to be, actually, because, we're in this tiny town of 2,000 people, and I get a call out of the blue from the local real estate agent saying, we've got this guy coming up. He's studying small business in rural locations and he wants to interview you. So, okay, all right. So I go and meet him, and the impression that I get, there's this television program that's going to be recorded and it's going to be shown on TV. So I get all dolled up and theatre makeup, the whole lot. And I rock up, and people are sitting around casually around the pool with a drink, and there's this camera on a tripod, just a normal. I think it was an iPhone or something. And as it turns out, he was just recording for his own doctorate that he was studying, just to get some insight. So, but in the course of this conversation, he was asking about the challenges that we have as a rural business. And I said, well, we're so isolated here. We just don't have the people in the industry that we're connecting with. Being in this beautiful town, there's a beach to distract me. It's just such a relaxing town. It really is often hard to get the motivation to get up and do the work and so on. And he said, well, actually, there's this program by the Innovation Centre in the Sunshine Coast. It's an incubator. I think this would be right for you guys. And I got home and I Googled it, looked it up, and interestingly enough, the applications were closing that evening. And the program involved, I think it was 6 months of weekly trips to the Sunshine Coast, which is a 4.5-hour drive one way. And I didn't have time to think, this is ridiculous. We can't do that. That's impossible. All I had was this ticking clock. I need to apply for this thing. So I got in and applied. And lo and behold, we were accepted into this program, one of 13 food businesses. And so we travelled weekly to the Sunshine Coast, and we met a lot of other food businesses and got connected with a lot of people down there. And in the Sunshine Coast, there's this booming food and agribusiness network, and that was incredible to be part of.
That's great. By the way, we're talking with Beck Domorev, who's the co-founder of Tielka, on today's edition of Small Business Banter. Beck, part of that sound like you just got your application in the nick of time. Nothing like doing these things at the last minute, but it's also probably fortuitous. Was part of that evaluation of your business a sense that the tea industry in Australia is showing real potential? It's been a very coffee-dominated culture. Not that coffee and tea line up together, but can you tell us about where you see the tea business headed in Australia?
Yeah, sure. Well, tea and coffee, they perform very different functions, I guess, in the marketplace. So if you go into the hospitality industry, coffee is the dominant player and tea is this added extra. And you go to the supermarket and you'll see quite a big range of tea there. Tea, in terms of, the market and the trends and so on, is growing very much in the specialty arena. And there's a big interest in fruit and herbal teas and blends and so on, moving away from the black teas. And so an interest in eco-friendly packaging and organic and the health benefits is growing, and the premiumisation is a big element of where the tea is heading at the moment, which is actually right in our pocket, interestingly enough. So we're very much focused on the premiumisation. The health benefits is kind of a secondary element for us. So, yeah.
Do you find, Beck, that your tea drinking market is changing too in terms of the demographics of the people who are drinking tea? I hear sort of a lot from different people about how younger people are more interested in a lot more, say millennials are much more causal type businesses, businesses with a cause and things that are good for the planet. Is that impacting on your business, or are you seeing signs of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely if you have a look at the big tea players, there is that cause element. What are you building into the environment? What are you building into society? And we see that with the way that customers interact with us. I'll send out an email with a personal story and I'll get response back of, how that's important to them. And there really is the importance of that element being invested into the business.
So how do you communicate that out to, through your marketing? So I'm just trying to, pick your brain a little bit to give ideas to the listeners about who may be thinking along the sort of lines that you are, not necessarily competitive product, but, looking at that causal marketing. What are some of the things that really work for you that might benefit them?
Yeah, sure. So for us, our newsletters that we send out by email play a big role. We get the biggest response from sending our newsletters out, saying that our newsletters are, we do spend a lot of time to make sure that they are quality, they have quality content, because you get so much junk in your inbox. So for us, it's really important that it really is quality content that relates to them. What is the benefit that it brings to the person reading it? It's not about us, it's about the customer and what they're getting.
Yeah, I've known the Tielka business for some time. Everything you do from a branding communication perspective is really first rate, and how you thread the personal stories and the rituals and what tea's all about. So that leads me into you're in a partnership with your husband, Alexi. Couples working together, is wonderful. You both bring different skills. Can you talk about how you function as a couple with family, and then there's business partners on a day-to-day basis?
For the viewers out there, you can't see me having this big smile on my face right now because I love how you say we work together really well. Yeah, we do. We certainly bring different skills. My husband has an MBA, and he's able to hone in on an issue and just pinpoint it and go, this is what you need to do. I'm a little bit more fluffy in my way of thinking, and I find it harder to focus, but I'm very creative. We do, as a married couple, have our challenges working together, and that's been a huge part of the journey. I don't think we'll ever stop learning and improving on that.
Does drinking tea together help soothe those challenging times?
No. We drink tea separately often. No.
Me time.
Me time. It's definitely me time. But, we've made it work. We have to, we're in this together. And there's times where we rub each other up the wrong way and we just, we take a deep breath and forgive and move on and try it again.
I think in that respect, it's no different. If you're in business and you're in a partnership or with a friend or just a business colleague, there's challenges every day with people working together, even if it's owner and a senior employee. So, but have you used anything? Do you just find it's good to acknowledge that you have different skills? You have to put aside the personal stuff and say, well, you are very good at this, I'm very good at this. Is that a allocation of like a rational, cold-minded almost approach to saying, look, for the business to work, we're going to need to do what we do well, and don't make it personal. You have to work hard at that.
Yeah, you do. It takes a lot of emotional maturity to make it work, I think. And there's a lot of the time where, you just have to, quite literally suck it up and swallow your pride and swallow your emotions just to keep going and get through. That's not to say the whole thing is terrible. It's not. We have we have some really good things come out of it too. So, we've worked together through our developing our packaging, and that can be quite stressful. And at the end, we look at it and we look back at the iterations that we've done and the improvements, and there's something we're really quite proud of at the end, and there's that sense of achievement.
That's good. I was just you've had a couple of things help to evolve, not help, but that have driven you to evolve the way the brand and the business, personal circumstances. Moving to the regions, you've taken a big leap of faith to get from a major metro location to Agnes Water. Has that helped or hindered the business? Until the last couple of years, I would have said hindered more than helped, to be honest. The business side of things, if I'm being perfectly honest, because it is a laid-back lifestyle, and when you're not working on something completely focused, it's not going to grow as fast. That's just that's just how it is. The last couple of years, we've spent a lot of time investing into networking in terms of, I talked about going to the Sunshine Coast, and we got involved in the Food and Agribusiness Network. So we've become very connected to other businesses, and having that. And interestingly, the experience of COVID has actually made us more connected and come to be an advantage for us as a business. So it's definitely evolved. So with COVID, everyone's become forced to be online. So we're all in the same boat now. And we're in on Zoom meetings with various events, whereas they would be in person before. So for us, we've become more connected over the last few years, which has helped our business even more.
It's interesting you talk about that connectedness through the COVID issues and, using technology as a way, which was actually a good segue into the question I was going to ask you about how you use technology to develop a business, recognising that you are in a fairly remote area. And many of our listeners, because they are regional based, have similar challenges to you, smaller opportunities to, connect with people. So, what are some of the tools that you use? You touched on Zoom and others, so for meetings and things. How do you stay in contact with clients and also, potentially, developing your customer base?
For the last little while, we've been investing in SEO for our website. So because we're not able to be on location visiting, walking the pavement as such, we need to improve our visibility. So we've been investing a lot into SEO so that we come up in the search results, and that's getting some good results. The Zoom meetings, as I said, whenever an event pops up for our Food and Agribusiness Network, I try and be part of that. So I'm talking with other businesses and looking out for opportunities. I've worked also with a business mentor from the Sunshine Coast, so with weekly phone call conversations, and she would, she has an ear to the ground because she's out there and out and about and hearing things and talking to people. So getting her input has been a huge help.
That's great, Beck. Unfortunately, we're at the end of our time. It's been a really informative and open chat. Thank you so much for your time. We wish you well on the Tielka journey. For those listening in, it's tielka.com, but we'll put that on smallbusinessbanter.com. Again, Beck, thanks very much for your time, and you take care.
Thank you so much. It's been great talking to you both, Anthony and Michael.
Cheers, Beck. Thanks for your time.
So that's all for today's episode of Small Business Banter. Anthony and I continue to be inspired by bringing you small business experts and other small business owners and hearing their stories. For any of the links, resources or information we've talked about on the show today, or to contact Anthony or myself, please head over to smallbusinessbanter.com, or you can find us on both Facebook and Instagram. Anthony and I would love you to tune in at the same time next week for another episode of Small Business Banter.